So, after a bit of precarious platforming on the lunar surface, we did manage to make our way back into the work area last time around. And as it is a new and unexplored area of the work area, I figured it might be worthwhile to check out the monitors, see what is lying in store ahead of us. Now, this portion of the work area is fairly small, and in fact, we have already touched a bit upon the oxygen production plant in the last video, as well as the garage itself. But in the case of the monitors, we're just going to start from the top and work our way down. Now, you might recall that the oxygen production plant was in a pretty bad state of disrepair. And with the monitors, we can pretty much see the origin of where all that smoke and steam was coming from. But I get the impression that this might not just be general disrepair and disuse. And in fact, it's a bit hard to tell, but on the railing there is a hint of exactly what happened.
This is good. We can't break everything. This'll help us. Jeffrey, did you hide the repairing tape?
Yes, I hid it by the tank.
Wait, someone's coming.
So it turns out that this was not simply a malfunction in the system. Instead, it was very purposeful sabotage by someone. As to why they would want to do that, well, it's a bit uncertain as of right now, but honestly don't want to linger in this room for too long because of that blaring alarm. Just want to kind of take in some of the sights. We got ventilation controls and some lift controls. But yeah, if you weren't able to find that set or that duct tape from the previous area, they do give you a little bit of a hint as to where it is. And so we can get a better layout of where the control room is. It seems to be right adjacent to the door you enter in. And strangely, nothing really to see from camera 2. Guess just a better indication about where the leak might be. Yeah, speaking of the control room, if we take a quick look in there, yeah, again, quite a bit of fog, but we do see a ghost that appears to be looking for something.
Where did he go? Where did he go?
Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell, but it seems that he is indeed looking for something to repair the damage outside.
Where did he go?
While he is looking, we can see there are some bits of interest on the desk, especially something in green there.
This is far better than the conventional one. I've never seen minerals that produce this much oxygen.
Finally.
Congratulations, Director. This is a rare stone. It's so red.
Where did he go?
So with that recording, we get our first sight of that infamous red stone. Also a bit of curious information just for this particular game, in that the stone seems to give out oxygen. I'm not sure where that piece of mythos comes from, but well, we're hopefully going to figure it out later. For right now, we can't really head in the control room because that ghost is in there and he'll be pretty ferocious. And we don't really need to care about the passageway. Instead, in the garage, yeah, there was that key box, and we can already tell there is another recording right next to it.
Alan, why are you smiling like that?
Why was the password changed all of a sudden? Oh, that. Is it your son's birthday? I heard that he was born the other day.
Nathan? Yeah, what a kid.
Your daughter gave you that toy in the control room, huh? That was a really nice thing to do. Wish I had a family like that.
Okay, get back to work.
And so, we get a hint in regards to the password for the box there. But we actually need another portion to unlock the box fully. And to do that, we need to make sure to look at the top of the lockbox here. Because, yeah, there is another 4-digit code on top of it. So, that's going to be one portion of it. And the other portion, well, it's going to be having to figure out the birth date for that guy's kid. Now, there is one other thing of interest to make sure and check out in the garage. And that's in the broken down lunar rover. Even though we aren't going to be able to drive it, yeah, there is something of interest for us in the cab itself. But before we can even get into that, we're going to need the key, we're going to need to get in the lockbox, and well, yeah, that's going to start all in the oxygen production plant. And probably just to make life a little bit easier on our ears, I think the very first thing we're going to want to do is to eliminate that horrible siren, and that's going to require doing a little bit of fixing. Now, the fog is especially thick in here, so if you don't check the monitor, you can get pretty turned around even though it's a pretty small area. We're going to want to make a very long trek up this ladder here.
Commence repairs immediately.
Sadly, there is no sprinting on the ladder, so this is pretty much your set speed. Which I guess makes sense since you're in a very large, cumbersome spacesuit. Doing the repairs is pretty simple, as long as you made sure to pick up that duct tape from before. You are going to have to be on your toes because once that alarm stops, the ghost that was in the control room downstairs is going to become curious and make his way up here. And, yeah, you definitely want to take the ladder back down because if you try to jump off, you are going to fall to your death. And the other thing to keep in mind is if the ghost does find you up here, yeah, going down the ladder is going to be pretty much instant death as it makes its way and causes you to have a heart attack. But since we do have a little bit of time right now, we could go ahead and vent the fog.
Invalid ID. Unable to activate ventilation system.
But it's in the same state as the other ventilation controls we found in the work area, and it's totally inaccessible to us. So that does leave us the control room to look into now that the ghost is no longer in there. And the first thing we probably want to do... Well, there's nothing in the locker. We already know that. Yeah, the first thing we'd probably want to do is check out this little spaceman toy, but I'd rather clear up the fog first, and to do that, we first want to read this little book here. It is a daily log from that worker. And while it doesn't seem like his daily log might be of much use to us, the very first page is going to elucidate some very helpful information. Namely, that he just got a brand new promotion, and with that promotion, he got a very nice new shiny ID card. Now, it's that ID card that might be helpful to us in venting some of the nearby ventilation. But he also goes a bit into the stone and its miraculous oxygen production levels, and the fact that, for some reason, once they found the stone, the fog did start, though, well, even though there is a ghost-producing fog around this place, it seems that the company back on Earth only cares about numbers, and that the director of the facility has promised that they're going to go full steam ahead, gung-ho, and not stop production for, well, any catastrophic situations. So even though things are kind of lagging behind, and indeed the worker does lose his executive permissions, or his, executive employee ID, they still just kind of push ahead. But what we really want to take from that particular document is that, well, in his anger, he did throw away his ID card. And where's the best place to throw something away but... that's right, in the nearby garbage can. Now, obviously, a bent card is not going to be of very much use to us. But it is a soft enough metal where, given enough, heat and, force, we might be able to get it back into shape. So, I'll see that spaceman toy in just a little bit. Because I do happen to know a very good place to give us some, high pressure, high heat water. To do that, we are going to take the lift back up top. As you might recall in the previous video, in this very foggy area, there was a little bit of leaky water over here. Very, very hot leaky water. So what happens if we place our card down underneath that water? Just like that, we have a brand new fixed executive ID card. Now, the one bit of worry is that from that report, he did make mention that he did lose his executive privileges, which I guess could mean that this card could no longer work. It's just that, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and there's really no harm in trying to use it out.
ID verified. Ventilation system activated.
And so we do get a bit of good luck. I guess the company was a little bit lax in revoking his privileges. And now that we are relatively safe in this area, we can return back to our spaceman toy and see if it can't give us a little bit of helpful information.
Dear Daddy, how are things on the moon? We've got big news for you today. Mommy delivered a baby boy on May 24th. He is so cute. So you have to come home soon so you can see the new baby. I'll be sure to send you a picture of him when I send this doll. See you soon and take care of yourself. We really, really miss you lots. Love you, Daddy.
And that is an adorable little dancing robot, though it is a bit sad to realize that Daddy's never going to make his way back to Earth. Still, we do learn his son's birthday, and we do get a nice portable battery recharge here, since we have been walking around quite a bit with our light on. But with that birthday, we can now head back to the garage, where we should now be able to easily open that lockbox. The first thing it asks for is the keybox ID. That is the 4-digit code that we found on top of the box itself. And the second part is the password, which is going to be May 24th, which is just 05, and then 24. For that, we get the final key to the lunar rover. And that should give us access to whatever was in the cab here. And it's a very large battery. Now, it does look usable, though currently it doesn't have a charge. Still, that probably will be useful to us in the future. Though before we leave this portion of the work area completely, there is one thing you do want to make sure and go do. And that's to head all the way back up the ladder and talk to the workmen that went to go check out your repairs on the pipe.
Hey, you're not supposed to go up there. Wait, hold on. Is it you who fixes this thing? Looks kind of ugly, but they should be fine now. I wish my crew was as resourceful as you. Since we started using that storm, the oxygen supply is stabilized, but a strange fog has been coming out. Means more work for us. It's busy here. I better go check the space hub. Is this director's orders? There's still a pile of work left to take care of. Thanks again.
So with that bit of hard work, we've released him from his eternal workplace. In addition to that, we also got a level 3 key card. Now, we don't know where to use this just yet, and in fact, well, we want to make sure and go ahead and do a few other optional things before we leave the area. First of which is, since we do have that brand new working executive ID card, we can head back over to the regolith processing plant area, where we ran to that sleeping ghost before, and we can now safely clear out the fog in here.
ID verified. Ventilation system activated.
And now that things are relatively safe in here, well, we can safely start to explore. Maybe check out the material room over here. Though it appears that we're not going to be able to get in there just yet. Seems the two ghosts in there are waiting for Igor's guard duty to finish. And speaking of Igor on guard duty, I get the feeling that's exactly who this slumbering cosmonaut is.
Did your shift just start? I can't believe there was a survivor. What is going on here? Oh, yes. Our commander. Did you see the commander? There are 6 of us working here. When our fuel was running low, we stopped here. We saw their monster, so we ran away. Our commander distracted the monster and we escaped. That was the last we saw of him. Everyone is worried about him. If we could only find out if he's alive.
So it seems that Igor and crew are still waiting for some word back from the commander. And I feel kind of bad for him, so I'm going to do something I probably should have done before. Which is to stop that very noisy machinery from waking him up. Yeah, I kind of overlooked this while I was initially heading towards the airlock door there, but you know, we still managed to make our way into it. But yeah, I get a feeling that Nikolai was a part of their away team as well. And yeah, hopefully we can free all 6 of their crew. But yeah, the next thing we want to do is head back towards the main hub area. Though, since we have managed to clear out all the fog, I do like to take in all the cleared up sites and just kind of enjoy the scenery. There's a real sense of progression, seeing everything a lot more clearly. Though, in reality, there is a secondary reason we want to make sure and head back this way, because yeah, there was this weird sound I kind of didn't notice initially. And it's apparently coming from this item that's stuck in the walkway. Yeah, I think that item is there. It's dropped by the ghost that tries to attack us. But it's just so foggy that it's kind of easy to overlook. And it's a key to the water filtration plant. And it has been quite a long time since we've even heard of that place. But if we take a quick look at our map, we will see that it is the very large cylindrical room that was right after we exited the shuttle. In fact, I do kind of remember there was a hostile ghost in there, and there's also the fact that we do need to head back into the shuttle to help Nancy's husband. But before we can do any of that, we do want to make another slight detour over into the energy area, where we initially brought power up into the central hub. Now, before I ducked into the monitor room for just a quick save, so we didn't actually use the monitors at that time. And that's mostly because a lot of the area, we just kind of walked around in. And the one main usage for the monitor room in this area was something that was gated by a level 2 keycard. And that is the battery room. But now that we do have that level 2 keycard, it seems as good a time as any to take a look and see that not only do we have a fog-filled room, but we also have a confused spirit walking around in it. In addition to that spirit, there is a control panel up on the walkway.
Victor.
As well as a large piece of machinery on the ground here that might be of some interest to us. But what's also worth checking out, and a bit harder to see, is a little bit of green on the stairs here.
Please, Victor. There should still be some good batteries somewhere.
What? I don't want to be left alone here.
Victor, my dad gave this to me before my first flight. I'm giving this to you. I promise it'll protect you. You know you're not as weak as you think you are.
But Captain...
So you might recall a particularly cowardly ghost that was sitting inside of a fish pool back in the fishery. A guy that was looking for an amulet given to him from his captain, and, well, indeed, this is the captain, who is still waiting for his second-in-command to come back. Now, we do see the ventilation control device, and it isn't illuminated, which is an indication to us that even if we try to go operate it right now, it's not going to work. Instead, we have to figure out some way, I guess, to get the power going back in the battery room. And to do that, well, we are going to have to use that control panel up on the walkway, and we are going to want to pay close attention to the very slow and steady path that this ghost does take. Yeah, it's pretty much a very set path. But it's not going to be quite as simple as just pressing a button on a panel. So, timing things out, I guess basically to where that ghost is walking back up the stairs.
Access granted. Releasing lock.
You should have plenty of time to make your way down into the battery room. And I will say that this ghost is not the most observant. So it's not really going to notice your light or movement like the priest ghost.
Where are you?
You still want to be careful. You don't want to get too close to him. Still, you might be a little distressed once you try to mess with the panel because it seems like it doesn't work, but in reality, there's just a very particular spot on it that will work. And then you're given this very somewhat confusing setup. In actuality, though, it's pretty simple. You pretty much just want to hit the area right between the green and red, will get power back to the room, though you do still want to be careful. The ghost is still in here and still very, very angry.
ID verified. Ventilation system activated.
But even the basic ID card should be enough to get the fog cleared out. And as such, that formerly patrolling ghost is now waiting for us right by this large piece of machinery.
I'll wait for you here. Please, hurry up. The accident was our fault, wasn't it? The cause of the accident is important. We are responsible for our passengers' safety. Our shuttle crashed. There's nothing we can do about that. But we have to take responsibility for it. Understand, Victor?
So the captain was waiting for Victor to bring back a battery, and it just so happens we do have a very large battery on us right now.
This is the battery. Now I can finish my work. Did you see Victor? Why didn't you bring this? Well, thanks. This came from Victor, right? I knew I could count on Victor. I knew he would get in the battery. Nice work, Victor.
And so we managed to quell the captain's tortured soul. We got to let Victor save a little bit of face, and more importantly, we got ourselves a freshly charged battery. Which I think might be perfectly usable in the ship, which, well, they did mention that was the accident that I guess Victor was talking about. And it does kind of bring up the point that even at this juncture in the game, we still don't know what caused the shuttle to crash. Though as we head back to the shuttle, just before the water filtration plant, things seem to be mysteriously less foggy. Do get a very quick glimpse of that wandering ghost that we saw back in the basement. I suppose that he could have been the one that triggered the ventilation device and got rid of all the dangerous fog down here. And as you might guess, all the fog is now gone from the water filtration plant, and that means that ferocious ghost that was waiting all alone here on the bridge is no longer here. Instead, if you remember so very long ago in the monitors, we could see that there was a body, I guess, in that far door over there. And we are going to need to get over there via the use of this control panel, which, while it is locked, we Did just happen to find the water filtration plant key, so let's go ahead and plug that in. Bit of an unexpected turnstile here. So it does allow us access to this room where we find not only the very old-looking corpse, but we also find the former owner of said corpse.
How long have I been here? Oh, yeah. Communications from headquarters was cut off. We're all abandoned. The food is gone. Everybody left me. They left me here, all by myself. I was so lonely. Thanks for finding me.
And just like that, we have freed another optional soul. Though I do kind of question just how long his body has been sitting in here. Beyond freeing that ghost, though, there really isn't much else to this room. Right on the control system here, if you look hard enough, you can find a nice little recharge for your spotlight. Beyond that, though, well, it's time we finally head to the destination we meant to all along, going this direction. And that's getting back inside the shuttle. Now, you might recall before I headed out of the shuttle originally, I did make sure to take a quick detour down the hallway here. And that's because it is very important that you understand that there is this power room down here with its battery compartment. Well, there was a missing battery, which, well, we just so happen to have a newly charged battery on us. And even as the generator does hum back to life, it doesn't really bring back any kind of illumination or much power to any of the ship. Instead, all that really does is power up something back in the VIP section of the ship, which is yet again another area that can be easily overlooked, but it's pretty much these two doors right here. And behind the left door, we don't find a ghost. Instead, we just find a very poor body. Nothing much else. You want to make sure and look right next to the body, because you do find a passenger letter with Norman Spindle's name on it. Yep, this is Nancy's dead asshole husband. Still, kind of amazed that there isn't a ghost here to talk to. Even in the adjacent cabin, it's just entirely empty. Can only hope that maybe the passenger letter might be enough for Nancy, but at this point she is pretty far away and we're not going to make that journey for right now. Instead, It's good to keep in mind that we have cleared up almost 70% of the fog in the facility, and we do have that brand new key card, so hopefully you will join me next time around as we use that key card and continue our journey to find our missing fiancé. See you then.